Okay, review of the iDelta Mini Pro Part 2. I've been messing around with it for a couple of days. It's been a slight headache, a very large headache, but obviously don't let that put you off the printing world, because this isn't a world you can just walk into and just think it's going to work straight out of the box, because it doesn't. It's a learning curve, and it's like riding a bike. You got to get on it, you got to keep falling off, and eventually you get it. Or in this case, you don't. So let's show you where I'm at. So what we got, this little sensor that came with it, which is like the ECG monitor. I figured out that this plugs in here. Now I say figured out because all the manuals for this printer are in Chinese. Japanese, I don't know. They're not English, which I am, and there isn't any other English than any other language they're in. So I've had to do my best to try and figure it out from what I've got. Obviously, the language on the LCD screen is English. The printer's in English, but all of the info on setting up this printer is in Chinese. Now, all of the information was on the memory stick that came with the printer, which was good. There was a little benchy on there as well, which I didn't bother printing because it was long.com. And I've had some snags. So, we'll start with LCD screen. So, one button push. You've got home, quick settings, print file, temperature, fan, SD card. So, temperature. First you've got your cool down, preheat. Now preheat is you just hit preheat. It heats the nozzle up to about 210 so that you can put your filament in if you're doing filament changes. Obviously the filament's going to be molded into the nozzle, so it needs to be warm to be able to pull your filament out. That will initially just heat up the nozzle so you can change your filament. Obviously bed temperature and temperature of your nozzle. Print head 1, extra position, print temperature. Right, so let's back up out of there. Fan control, SD card, it's all pretty. And then we go into quick settings. So we've got home all, which obviously takes the print head to the home position, which is there at the top. I'll try and get this square for you. Right, Z baby stepper. So obviously with the Z you can set the Z height, and with this it will take it down in increments of 0.5 mil, I believe, at a time. If I adjust this, it will adjust the height of the Z stop, the speed and flow, and you've got auto leveling. So let's go into auto leveling and see what we get. So I shall zoom out so you can see. So we've got the sensor on the bottom here, and when this touches the bed you can see the little blue light comes on. Now how accurate this is I don't know, so I'm going to hit auto leveling. As you'll see, it goes up to its home position. Now it's going to go all the way down. It's going to take 3 separate readings, and then it's going to stop back at its home, which is up there. Sorry about all the helmets and junk in the background. I was doing a photo shoot with them the other day and I just ran in and threw them all on this desk. and then to get the printer out of the way of the other printer, and so I could sit here and work on it, I threw this in the little office desk as well. So I've just got all my junk strewn about all over the place. Right, so that now allegedly has done a full read of the print bed. So if we go back into quick settings and then go into auto leveling, now we need to nozzle set to 0, Z0. So the Z stop on the 0 is how high off the bed the nozzle sits ready for its first print. So we need to lower the nozzle down to the bed to the height we want it, and then set that as our 0 point. So the printer now knows that that nozzle at that height off the bed is its 0 point every single time it prints. If you get me. I'll try and keep this as quick as I can. Let's come out. So we go quick settings, auto leveling, nozzle to 0. Okay, so here she comes. Now it's stopped where it believes the 0 is. So now I'm going to go down 1 to Z position. Now if I turn the dial, now you can see on here I'm minus 0.04 and my blue lights come on. So if I go up to 0.02, the light is off. Down to 4, light is on. So that indicates that there's now pressure on this sensor switch between the nozzle and the bed. At the thickness of this pressure sensor, can't talk, the switch, you know what I'm saying. Okay. Ooh. Alright, and now we click once to go back. Now it comes up with set Z equals 0. So now we're going to tell the machine that the height I've set it at now is its 0 position every time it prints. So the bed's level, that's the height of the nozzle off the bed every time it prints. So I'm going to hold the button down. I get a long bleep and nozzle is back to its home position. Okay, now it has its own dedicated slicer program that comes with it. So I've dropped this in there. I've gone to slicer program. Now if I adjust the bed temperature and the nozzle, and then I turn the nozzle and the bed on, now I can't actually, if I push, I tell it to start printing now, it will physically start printing now with a cold nozzle. I'm calling it a nozzle, whatever you want to call it. So you have to let it heat up first before you initiate the print. That makes sense? Different, I don't know how other printers work. My S10, I go into settings, I push print, it does all the warm up for me, it does everything it needs, and when it's ready it starts printing. This one, not the same. So that's going to go through and warm up the nozzle, and then we've obviously got settings here to manually control the printer, up, down, left, right, X, Y, Z, and nozzle and filament feed, which is brilliant. So right, we're running to 9 minutes long on the video already. Hooey! And this is where it starts to get a nightmare. So I'm up to temperature now. I can print from the SD card, or I can just click here, start print. So I'm going to click start print. There she goes. Okay. Now I'm going to pause print. because as we can see, my print head, that Z we fixed on our print head, can we get in there? Why is everything so awkward? Now, I can get my paper under there by about a mile. So this isn't correct, even though that sensor says it was. So, let's come out. Let's go into quick settings. Bearing in mind I've paused this. I don't even know if I can do the settings from in here. Oh. I've got a big blobbing of glue coming out. So I'm adjusting the baby stepper on the Z with my bit of paper, which is getting quite annoying because my bit of paper is right in the way, and I'm trying to do it one-handed here. Now, if anyone wants to buy this printer, or is looking to buy a Delta printer, then don't let this video put you off, because I've done some tests in the Slicer program between this and the S10 CR10S, sorry. S10, it's not a bloody phone. And one of my prints said it was going to be 1 day 17 hours. And on this machine it said it was going to be 12 hours. Which to me is a huge difference in speed. And obviously it is faster, but you don't lose the quality either, because you haven't got the moving bed underneath. Now I've got a bit of friction on my paper there. Look, I can just about push me pull you, and I'm going to go down once more. There you go. I've got friction on my paper. Oh, what am I doing? Right, so I'm going to click my stepper. I hope this is not getting too confusing for you. Now, reset that as my 0. She's going to go back up to the top. And then I'm going to click continue printing. Right, now I have had the most, as you can see now, look at the gap, it's huge. So I'm going to go in, quick settings, Z stepper, and now I've got to manually bring that all the way down to the bed, because even though I've set the 0 on that, it doesn't like the 0. So now this is the problem I have. So then you've got to pause it again. Why have they made it so awkward? Then you've got to go back in again with your piece of paper, but I've got to move the stepper up to get the paper in, and then move it down. So you say to yourself, surely if I've set the Z to 0 and I've leveled the bed, because the only way to level it is with that little, this heart monitor thing, that's what I'm going to call it, then it should be level and the height of the bed should be as I set it. So now I'm having to go through and do this all manually again. I've got a bit of grab in there, but that's just a bit of muck on the nozzle. And it's just long. It should have saved my 0 when I set it to save it. So I might have to go into the actual settings and save it through EPOM. EPOM, or whatever the word is. Us dyslexics aren't brilliant. I know what I read it as, and that's what I understand it as. So now I've set that again, and now I can continue printing. And it's now actually going to start printing. Now the problem I've had is it's every only one print that I've put on here is completed. Out of the 5 or 6 I've put through, one the other day went an hour and a half and then it fell off the print bed. Now, if anyone owns a 3D printer, you'll know that when your first layers go down, you've got to have the right amount of squish onto the bed. So this is where my problem lies. Now, let's see if I can show this to you. You can see the squish here is nice. Got a lovely bit of squish, but over here it's too close to the bed. There's too much squish. Far too much squish. So it's not printing the right layer height over that side. So the problem we now have is, how do we adjust the layer height? We obviously lower the bed. I can't lower the bed because it's on solid mountings, and the bed was obviously done using this gadget. So you say, okay, well, maybe I need to redo the bed level jobby. Not a problem, but it is a problem, because to re-level the bed, you've got to come over here, you've got to pause the print, you've got to set the temperature of the nozzle to 0, because this is foam and plastic and the nozzle is going to melt straight through it, and then you haven't got a sensor or a way of leveling your bed. So this is my first gripe with this printer, is this sensor, and it being that obviously it hasn't read the level of the bed. This part of the bed is high, this part is low, so my squish over in this part, and you can see by the A there that it's printed, it's just a mess. It's all wrong. So now to reset the level on the bed, because I cannot adjust it manually, there's no way to adjust this unless someone knows how to adjust this manually. Please comment below. I have to fit this sensor back on, but to fit the sensor back on, let me just pause this. To fit the sensor back on, I have to reduce the head back to the temperature of 0, which is long, real long. I spoke in the other video about my belts having a bit of play in them. There is a screw right at the top here that you wind up and it tensions the belt, which is quite clever. So all in all, the printer is a good printer. It's really well made. I'm going to have to carry on playing with it for a few more hours, days, a few more hours, to figure out exactly what's going on with this print bed and get things to adhere to it properly. At the moment I've got hairspray on there to get some adhesion on it, but I think you can see that this part here is completely different to this part, and look, it's not even stuck here. And this part, just look, the adhesion to the bed isn't the best. So I'm going to look into that and find out what's going on and why it's being a nuisance to me and driving me crazy. So I shall say this is part 2 of possibly 3 videos once I eventually get this thing running. If anyone knows how to level this bed, anyone knows how to use this sensor properly, or how to set the Z0 for me, please give us a shout, because all of my manuals are in Chinese. Or if someone knows how to read Chinese, hey, I'll ping you over the manual. You can tell me what I'm doing wrong, whether I'm supposed to set the 0 first, then do a bed level. I've tried all of it. So, adios amigos. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe. I shall be back with video 3 shortly, and hopefully we would have figured out this, would you call it a problem? A learning curve. We'll figure out this learning curve. Alright, enjoy your lockdown, people. Stay safe, stay home.